Welcome back to class. I'm Joy Agagwu, and I'll be anchoring this class tonight. I hope you will have a good time learning something today. We will be rounding up on we've rounded up actually about the writing task. We've done our writing task 1, we are through with writing task 2 as well. And tonight we will just do a recap, okay? We'll just do a recap of the writing task, and then we'll pick up on something else by next week when we come back into class. Writing tasks. So what are we talking about? What have we been discussing in writing? And in the writing task, which is a component of the IELTS academic or general, it depends on what one is required of you, either for relocation or for studies or for jobs. And so if you're writing the academic, you should know what is expected of you. For the sake of clarity, this class has been on the academic module, although I teach the general also, but the classes that you see online on our YouTube and on my Facebook page or anywhere else where I have been teaching, it's the academic module, and it's for the purpose of relocation, admissions, and jobs really for people to the UK or any other country where they require academic. I think some other countries will tell you that what they need is general. So you need to know what is required before you go ahead to write your exams. Well, that said, we have been discussing about the writing tasks. The writing task is one part of the IELTS writing, the IELTS academic generally. There are 4 things in there where we have the speaking, listening, reading, and writing. We have done this over and over, and they're all on our YouTube, but in the last couple of weeks, actually since the beginning of the year, our classes, in the beginning of the year when our classes resumed, we have been dealing with writing, and we finished with writing last week. So today, just a recap, just a summary, okay, of writing generally. So let's admit people into class. Let's see. All right. So writing is divided into task 1 and task 2, and depending on what one you're doing, different things are required. So writing task 1 is asking that you should write not less than 150 words. It could be more. I usually advise people not to write more than 180, 170, 180 maximum. That's number of words. This is because when you write too much, you tend to take waste plenty of time on a particular thing. In as much as it's good to write and express yourself, it's also good to be precise and concise so that your examiner does not get tired or bored, okay? While marking your work. Writing task 1, you're expected to write not less than 150 words. And for the whole writing is 1 hour. Task 1 will take 20 minutes, while task 2 will take 40 minutes. So you're expected to have finished everything about the task 1 in 20 minutes and about task 2 in 40 minutes. They are usually giving both papers together. Like in my time when I wrote, that was 2018, I got both scripts together, and at some point I was switching in between, which is not so advisable. But if you can do that and help yourself and pass, that's fine. When I ran out of idea here, I ran to the other side and I was writing, and eventually I was able to pass. That's not what made me to pass. Okay, so you will not say, okay, because Joy said she was switching in between, I can also switch. Please don't do it. You need to be focused, okay? So that said, in the writing task, there are certain things that they use as your marking criteria. That's what they use to rate you. They look for certain things, and these things are all called the band descriptors. So for both tasks, you need to know what one is required. What exactly are they looking for? These band descriptors, there are four of them for each task, but different information is what they are looking for in each of them. For your task one, as we're discussing, you are expected to finish the task in 20 minutes, and you are expected to write no less than 150 words and to complete every aspect of the question. The question is saying that you should summarize, you should analyze, then you should have summarized, you should have analyzed, then summarized whatever thing, whatever question you have been asked. When you have done that, you have scored a good mark for your task completion, which means that you have finished the task, okay, completely. So there's task completion in your band descriptor. All right. Then we have grammatical range and accuracy, which is looking out for your grammar, your written grammar really. And this grammatical range and accuracy, many people score very low marks there because of bad grammar. You know, the way your words, your sentences, your paragraphs, they must make sense grammatically. So your ability to write in a way that your English is correct, if I can use that word, is what your grammatical range and accuracy is looking into. Okay. Also, we have coherence and cohesion. Also grammatical range, before I go on, is talking about your sentence formation, where we have the simple sentences, um, compound and complex sentences, your sentence formation generally. When you write and there's error, there's what we call tian or arrow. If when someone is reading, if it does not make sense grammatically, then you may score a very low mark for your grammatical range and accuracy. All right. Your punctuations as well. Remember that with wrong punctuations, you give a different meaning to your statement. So your ability to punctuate correctly gives you a good score for your grammatical range and accuracy. We have coherence and cohesion. This is your ability to write in a sequential order where you talk about A before B. You are able to present your ideas logically, and then proper paragraphing as well, showing a very clear progression, okay, in your work, avoiding unnecessary repetition of words, repetition of information, using a range of cohesive devices, and linking words to help you express accuracy all through your write-up. That's what coherence and cohesion deals with. Then we have the lexical resource. Lexical resource has to do with your range of vocabularies, the use of synonyms to explain yourself. You're using adverbs and adjectives just to show precision and appropriate word formation, correct spelling of words, and avoidance of errors as much as possible. Okay. Your use of synonyms will help you to avoid repetition of one word, isn't it? So when you have many words for things, like when you use other words in place of themselves, you interchange words without changing the meaning of the entire statement. So you make good use of synonyms to paraphrase and to express yourself. Generally, there's a structure of the writing tasks. The writing tasks have different structures. Task 1 has a different structure, task 2 has a different structure as well. The task 1, the structure is such that we have 3 paragraphs at the end of the day. And here it is made up of an introduction and an overview. Okay, in your introduction, the information required is different from what is required if you're writing the task 2. So generally, you have one introduction, that'll be your first paragraph, and then we have the overview. Your overview will be 2 paragraphs, and the content of your overview is dependent on the kind of questions that you are asked. When we discussed the kinds or types of questions that you will find in writing task 1, we discussed how of their various overviews will look like. So, excuse me, the introduction is a paraphrase of the question prompt with your overall statement together, giving you an introduction, while the overview is where your key features of the task will be discussed in details. For your introduction, what you do is you identify your keywords, get synonyms for them, then paraphrase the question again in your own words to your understanding without making it lose its meaning. All right. Then the overall statement is what you can identify, like a summary, like a conclusion, statement, but you are saying it at the beginning of your work. What you can see at a single glance, okay, what you note by just merely looking at whatever diagram is before you. A very major difference between task 1 and 2 is the fact that in task 1 you usually have one diagram or the other. So um, the diagram can be a map, it can be anything. We've discussed all of them. It's on our YouTube page, but I'll run through them because this is a conclusion. Okay, it's like we're rounding up with them, right? The writing task generally. So um, we sorry, just trying to silence some notifications. All right, so I was saying that the introduction is made up of an overall statement and your question prompt paraphrased. For you to paraphrase your question prompt, you need synonyms. Okay, you need synonyms, and these synonyms are words that will replace the words in the um, question without changing the meaning. And then we said that the overview is where your detailed explanation will be. For your overview, irrespective of the question type, you will have 2 paragraphs each. So please, as much as possible, write your introduction as a paragraph. That is your problem statement or the paraphrased question prompt and the overall statement as one paragraph. Don't finish writing the question prompt paraphrased and then you come and are saying overview. Okay, you say overview and all of that, and you're making the overview look like a different paragraph. At the end of the day, you have a different structure, and then your work may be too much, or your words will be too many, or the entire work will be too much for the task 1. That's one major mistake that people make, and it's not so good. Now, there are certain things you need to consider. You need to learn how to combine data to help you. Okay, you need to learn how to combine data in all of those, so that you can have a proper write-up. If you're able to combine your data well, your work will be precise and it will not be too much, and you'll be more focused. Okay, you'll be more focused. That's for writing task 1. We have talked about the structure. Now, you need to consider some steps when you're writing. First of all, you must read and understand the task. Some of us just read this question and we jump in to start writing. Say, oh, when I was practicing, I saw a similar thing in Cambridge, or I saw a similar one in Barron, or I saw a similar one with so and so tutor, or so and so place online, and this is how they started it, and you just go ahead and begin to write. Please read the task very well, understand what the question is before you go about to start writing. Now you must identify your highlights, okay? Then you paraphrase the keywords, underline your keywords, paraphrase them, and then you work out an overall summary from even before you start writing. Work out an overall summary, then plan your structure. And how do you plan the structure? By grouping your data, and that's why I said it's something worth learning, really working on for you to practice, okay, about grouping of data, because when you group your data, it helps to keep your work in an organized manner. It helps to arrange your work. So going further, I'll be talking about the different types of writing tasks and different types of questions that we will find. All in all, there are about 7 types of questions that you will find in the writing task. One, there we have the line graphs, the bar charts, the pie charts, we have maps, we have process diagrams, we have tables, we have flow maps. Okay. Now, sometimes you have flow charts, and these flow charts are like very close to the process diagram. So process diagram and flow charts are usually discussed together, just like we discuss maps and floor maps together, okay, or floor plans together. For your writing task 1, you may have a single diagram or a double diagram. Most times when you have a double diagram, depending on the kind of double diagram, you may want to discuss one of the diagram per paragraph, so that you will have your 2 paragraphs for the overview. But if you are made to compare, for instance, you have a pie chart and you have 2 pie charts that you're supposed to compare, it is better for you to get a starting point and a midpoint, then an end point, and then you divide the variables into certain number, and you can discuss these variables. Like, so if there are 10 variables in the pie chart, because if you are comparing 2 pie charts, the variables are the same, but the values are different. You will have different percentages or the same percentages, not for all of them. There's always some differences. That's why you're asked to compare the pie charts. So in that kind of a case, I would just advise you, or what you are supposed to do is for you to identify what one you are going to write about first in your first overview paragraph, which is your second paragraph after your introduction, and what one you are going to be discussing about in your last paragraph, which is your second overview paragraph, as your final paragraph, and is your third paragraph for that essay. So that as you are going along, you talk about this value, this particular variable and the value in comparison to the other one. Already you are making comparisons, you are contrasting them, okay? You are not going to say, okay, let me first of all write about them before I start comparison. No, it's not like that. The thing is just like midwifery or skill, where they will ask you that you should discuss and explain as you go along. So there's nothing like okay, so first of all discuss, or first of all list them, then I'll come and explain. No, as you are listing them, you're picking the components one after the other, you're discussing them and you're comparing them. Sometimes even in a single sentence, in 2 sentences joined together with your cohesive devices, you have finished talking about that particular thing, and then you have made comparisons and you have explained. So you need to group your data, you need to learn how to group your data for you to achieve this, okay? So you know what I'm writing about in this so and so paragraph. You can have a single diagram or a double diagram, and I've just explained what should likely happen when you have a double diagram. Also, we need to know that in our diagrams, okay, for writing task 1, sometimes we can have what we call a changeover task or a static task. A changeover task is, there are those tasks that that happens over a period of time. For instance, I say this is the given chart or the given line graph is a data of the number of women that accessed obstetric care in the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital from the year 2000 to the year 2030. And then you have all the values, antenatal care, postnatal care, labor, and all of that in the obstetric department. And they are all different values from 2000 to 2030. And that's a change over time period kind of task. Now, when you have a static task, it has to be at a particular time, all right? The static tasks are tasks that questions that has to do with a particular time. For instance, they say this task is this diagram is showing or giving data or illustrates the number of women that accessed obstetric care in the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital in March 2010. It's only for March. There's no March 2011, there's no March 2012 or whatever. It's not over a period of time. It's just at a particular time. Those are the static tasks, okay? So you need to know, because the words, okay, your cohesive devices, your adjectives, and your adverbs for describing a change over time period kind of task might be slightly different if you are describing a star task. Have I been laden with? What kind of task am I writing on? So that your adjectives, your adverbs, your noun phrases can all describe the period that you're writing. A lot of people have issues with time management. Time management is something that people need to learn. I've heard some people that have failed and had issues with IELTS, so even as they are passing, you hear them say, this I was not able to finish. I was not able to finish. This is because when we lack organization, we will not be able to finish. We just continue to write and write and write, which should not be so. Okay, if you are more organized, your work will be easier. It will be easier for you to flow and to write. And you know that when you are able to write better, you are able to finish on time. So this has to come with practice. A lot of people are not practicing, and at the end of the day, they are faced with the exam. So it's better for you to keep practicing so that you will understand better how to manage your time before the exams itself. All right. Another issue is people are, of course, I've talked about it. When you rush to answer, so you need to read and understand it, commit a lot of errors. So generally, for task 1, what should you do? You need to learn the structure and to know the grading of the test so that you can bring yourself, each time you practice under exam conditions. Put yourself like as if you're writing an exam. You set your alarm, set your stopwatch, and begin to write, and you time yourself. At the end of the day, you are able to work your brain, you're able to work your body, you're able to work your fingers as well to write, according to the time that you have been setting for yourself. You get used to it. And then I encourage you not to see the questions before time and think about them, because in the exam, nobody is going to give you the questions before time. So look for new questions. You are on the internet or go to the textbooks that you're using, open it and get the question there and then, so that you are able to score yourself, about your idea generation, on your organization, on your timing, and on everything. You need to learn to write quickly. So people can write very fast, right? Some say they are slow learners or slow writers. For the sake of exams, for the sake of this IELTS exam, you need to train yourself to write very fast. That way also you won't have problems with your writing, as in terms of the timing. You need to do loads and loads and loads of practice, learn to practice, and also to get feedback as well from as many people as are ready to help you. And when you are giving feedback, please effect your corrections, effect it from the corrections from the feedback. So in discussing batch chart, I'll just run through. Like I said, if you are joining us for the first time, or if you're just coming into the class, or you just tuned in and all of that, I'd like you to I just want to bring you abreast with what we are doing. Today is not going to be a teaching class where we will do the normal class work that we used to do. We may not be doing any class work today. This is because I am rounding up. I've rounded up really on writing task, and I'm just going through what we have done in the last couple of days, okay? What we've done in the last couple of days is what I am going through. So I've started talking about writing task 1, and currently I am talking about the examples now. I'm talking about the questions now, giving us the background of what the writing task 1 is generally. We have bar charts, all right? The bar charts represent like categorical data with comparisons of distinct variables, and these are horizontally or vertically plotted in general, you know, like the rectangular bars. That's what they are. They are rectangular representations of things. When they say a bar, you know, like a rod, like iron or something, bar, something that is rectangular, and they are representing data, and they are usually plotted either vertically or they are plotted horizontally. So it's unlike the line graph where we have the x and the y axis and things like that. No. So if you are describing a bar chart, there are certain vocabularies that you may need to know. You need to know about an upward trend. These vocabularies are also used for the line graph. So these are some of the similarities between them. You need to describe an upward trend. When something goes, how do we say? You can say the thing has rocketed. Okay, so words like rocket, like leap, words like soar, words like climb, when there's a surge or an increase. All right, we use those vocabularies to describe something that has increased or gone up. So that's one upward trend. When something goes down, which is a downward trend, you can say it has decreased, it has plunged, or it has reduced, or there's a sink. Okay. When something goes up and then comes back down, and then, you know, when something goes up and sharply comes back down, we say there's a slip back or there's a drop. Okay. And then gets to its low point and all of that. And then we say things like there is a plummet. Okay, when something is at its highest, we say it has peaked, that's the peak of it. And when it is at its lowest, it is in nadir, N-A-D-I-R. So if you go into your dictionary, if you go in online and all of that, you see some of these words, and then you look for their synonyms. Okay, get this synonym so that you are talking about an upward, just everything is increasing. No, help them. At the end of the day, your examiner will understand that you do really understand what you are doing. So as I was saying, when you say something has plummeted, it's very, very quick and it has gone really down from where it was before. So we say there's a plummet. When it's a drop, it means that that thing, okay, has gone up and then it came down. It has not gone to the lowest floor. When there is a slip back, it's used for falls that comes after rises. All right. So there are also adjectives and all of that, where we have like adjectival clauses and things like that that we use. Where we say significant rise, you're using 2 words together, 3 words together. When there is a significant decrease or decline, or something has risen significantly, or it has it rose significantly, or there's a significant rise, or it significantly rose. You know, things like that. We write English that are wrong. When we want to say something that has gone up, we say that there is a significant rise, all right? Or it rose significantly, all right? We need to know when and when to use these adverbs and the adjectives, or to use the adjective. Going forward, for line graphs, we use like word synonyms to describe the task. Generally, I had already said it, that it can be static or it can be changed over time. okay? The structure of the line graph is the same as the bar chart. So when you have a bar chart, like we explained, the introduction of your bar chart and your overall statement makes your first paragraph. Then your overview, the discussion of your overview is where you give details, okay, of all of the things that has happened in that bar chart that you want to talk about. So your first overview, it depends on the kind of bar chart that you have. If you have a bar chart that is talking about maybe two things, you can decide to, as in two variables, like two countries or four countries, or like if they are even number, and divide them into two. You see how this and this first one, the other one. So if they are basically two variables, you yeah, I think it's been raining. There's been some network issues. Can we still hear me? Yeah? Can you hear me? Good. Thank you. So I was talking about the structure of the bar chart where I said you should write, much together, because if at the end of the day your work is not well organized, what will happen? You will lose marks for coherence and cohesion. So when you choose one side and you write about it, it makes your work look more organized and it's better for you. So talking about the line graph, we finished the bar chart. The line graph, the structure is the same as that of your bar chart. The vocabularies are the same too. The difference is in the variables and in the figures that have been provided for this report. All right. Sometimes also the noun and verb phrases that you use for description may vary as well. For instance, where maybe we say there's an upward shift or movement or trend, words like increase, rise, jump, and leap are used, okay, for downward, decrease, and the rest of them. So yes, they may vary, they may not. When you have a trend that remained unchanged or there was no increase or decrease, it was stable, you can use that, steady, or it maintained a period of stability, or it maintains its stability, okay, or there was a period of instability, if that's what has happened, if there was a shaking or fluctuations or an oscillation, or there was a varied difference, okay, those are the phrases that you can use. When you want to describe specific points in a line graph, you use words like peaked, where it reached its highest point, and nadir, where it reached its lowest point. Now, there are adjectives that you use. What are adjectives? Adjectives are qualifying words, isn't it? They're adjectives that you should use to describe the kind of changes, or in your report, just to write, to qualify exactly what kind of things that you have noted. Adjectives like dramatic, like slight, words like moderate, sharp, steep, significant, substantial, considerable. These words are used to describe the size of trend, okay? While words like sudden, rapid, steady, maybe slow, gradual, quick, they are used to describe the time that the trend occurred. So if you want to talk about a very sharp rise, you can say something, and it means that you're discussing the size okay, of the trend. Then when you're talking about the time of it, you can say it was rapid. Okay, it was sudden, happened suddenly. So you need to also understand this thing so that in your report writing, you will not be using words like the other way around. All right, that's just the similarity and the slight difference that there may be between a bar graph and a bar chart and a line graph. All right, we have examples of pie chart. I've described a pie chart in the course of this explanation. You can have a double pie chart, you can have a single pie chart. When you have a single pie chart, I encourage us or advise us that we should divide the variables into two and discuss them. That's in the grouping of the data that I say it really makes your work easy. So you pick what variables you are going to discuss first and go ahead and write, and then what ones are coming last. If you have double, then it's better because when you have double, you have been asked to compare definitely. So you pick the variables that you want to write about here and there. Then talk about their values. Okay, for instance, if there are 10 variables in it, pick 5, and that 5 that you have picked is the first 5 or the last 5, however you want to do it. For you to really get it well, sometimes I encourage people to pick what? Maybe the highest variables and the next ones to it, maybe first the highest one, then second highest and the last and the lowest. Pick them and discuss them first. Then go to the variables. The next one will now be the ones that are the same, because in most pie charts or in data like that, there is always something that did not change. Some values did not change. They are the same for all of them. So you pick the ones that are the same for both of them and discuss it. And with that same discussion, you pick the ones that changed. They are not the same. They are neither highest nor lowest, okay? But by time between this, with your sentences, your word choice and all of that, you will have enough words. You will even have more than enough to this. That's why we're giving you this clue now, that you pick highest, lowest, maybe second highest next to it and discuss first, and then go down to your last paragraph and pick the ones that were stable and the ones that were not stable. All right, the ones that changed and the ones that remained unchanged, and then you can go ahead and discuss. We have process diagrams. A process diagram is a kind of question that you will occasionally see in an IELTS exam. It's not all the time, but we can't rule it out. It still does come out. So here, it's testing your ability to explain things in stages, what happens, the steps that are involved in the process. Now, come very, very handy for you here, because sometimes some small details are unlabeled in your process do not leave any step unexplained for in your process diagram. Did I go off again? I did. So at what point did you stop hearing me, Sandra? At what point did you stop hearing? Do you know where I went off and I came back?
It was shaking out you, so I couldn't go out.
Oh, dear. Uchenna, do you know when I went off?
When you're talking about the process diagram.
Oh, perfect. So I'm still in touch. Thank you very much. All right. So the process diagram I was saying is testing your ability to explain things as in something that is happening or that has happened in a step-by-step manner, moving from one step to the other. Testing your ability to be organized, really. Like sometimes we want to jump certain steps because we feel it's not very important or something significant did not happen at that stage. No, it's not like that. Make sure that you don't jump any step at all. make sure you follow all of the steps. And when you see a process diagram, count all the steps, okay? Count them. Count these steps, get a start point, get a midpoint, get an end point. So between your start point and your midpoint, that forms your first paragraph. All right. Between your midpoint and your end point, they will form the components of your last paragraph, which is your second paragraph for the overview. Do you get my point? So you will now have 3 paragraphs where you have your introduction, overview 1 and overview 2. Your overview is where you are explaining this whole process, and the number of steps in the process, get it, divide it. Sometimes the diagram can be it can be really obvious for you, and there is like a break in between. Some of them, there will be a long break in between. You can take it from that point to the other side, or at other points when it's like an even number, it makes it easier for you to divide into 2, isn't it? But when it is an odd number, you need to also use your discretion to know, maybe it's 11 steps now that are involved. You need to know what steps, okay, so should I do 5 and 6, or I should do 6 and 5? You need to use your discretion, okay, for you to get the correct division, really, so you can explain. Now, there are processes in this, and there are steps, there are vocabularies for describing a process diagram. When it is a step, okay, from the beginning, you want to start your write-up. Phrases like the first step, or the first step in the process is, or the first stage, or the process begins with, or the process commences with. Those are the kind of phrases that you can use, okay, to start your write-up. The first step in the process is, the first stage in the process is, the process begins with, the process commences with. These are the phrases that you can use to start your write-up. Now, if you are going to continue writing, we call them sequencers. Words that are called sequencers, like consequently, like subsequently, after this, the next step is, in the next stages, following this, then in the following stages, those are the ones that you can continue writing with. Like, you have talked about some steps already, but you want to discuss what is next to that one. So they are the sequencers. They are things that you want to use to talk about you moving forward. So moving forward from here, things like subsequently, after this step, the next step, in the next stages, in the following. So the phrases for describing the process diagram is the same with that of the flow chart. Flow, not flow yet. Flow chart, FLOW, where we have like organogram, isn't it? Next to this is, after that, and then there are also some peculiar ones though to the flow chart, and I'll mention it. I hope I remember. I'll mention them when I get them. And then you want to talk about the final stages, the final steps. The process finishes with or ends with. The process is concluded with. Those are the ones that you can use to explain the end of your process. That's like basically what you really need to know about the process graphs. Then in the flow charts, it's like similar things, but one of the major differences is that when you have an organogram, for example, or there are boxes and they have written from this one, you move to that one and all, you can see that sometimes you see one is below one or under the other one or beside. So those are the words you can use as well. Beside this, okay, below, above, you can use those words as well to qualify or to describe the position, okay, of certain things in that graph that you have at that point. That's something that is peculiar to the flow chart. Then we have maps. When you are describing a map, if you see a map in your exams or in any question at all, always be on the lookout for the compass. So when you have a compass, just know that in the description of that map, you you are expected to use north, south, east, and west. Okay, so you are describing the location. If you are describing location of the things in that map, you are expected to use those words. So if you are describing the things on the north, on the south, on the east, or on the west, now you are expected to have 3 paragraphs for a map. Now your introduction is already sorted because we have discussed it that our introduction is our question prompt paraphrase and our overall statement, the general statement, our conclusion, what you can see from merely looking at this map. Okay, so that is already sorted. Then your overview, you are expected to have an overview 1 and 2. That is 2 paragraphs. Now, you have a map and there is the north, south, east, and west, which is the 4 cardinal points. Now, you are going to choose what you will discuss in the first paragraph and in the second paragraph of your overview. If you want to talk about the things that are on the north and on the south together in your first overview paragraph, that's cool. If you want to discuss north and east together, that's cool. But that for the organization of your work and for you to have a good cohesion, that's a good progress, a good progression between your work, then it's advisable for you to select a particular one and discuss first before you move to the other. Don't talk about one item on the north and then choose an item on the left, in the south, and describe both of them together, and then bring one from the east and talk about all in one paragraph. No, it is better for you to be organized so you can select which areas. Maybe you divide your map into 2 and you decided to choose the first upper ones or the ones below. Okay, or you divide into 2 horizontal parts and you choose from the media here, maybe from one media point to the other side. If you describe this one first, okay, maybe the lateral point, that's what I mean. Describe things on the left before you go to things on the right. It depends on what you want to do, but in grouping of your data, you need to make that choice for your work to be organized, for you to score a good mark in cohesion, in having a good score with the flow of your work. Okay, so and then if you have a map that there is no compass, how do you describe it? How do you describe a map without compass? You go ahead to use this up, down, left, right, okay, where we have words like above, below, okay, where we have words like on the left part or left side or right side, okay, or bottom, where we have those kind of words like up, bottom, or below, or above. It depends on what you are describing, though. It depends on what you are describing. And then when you have a map that you are to discuss, and it has to do with maybe development, things that has changed over time. Maybe a structure has been added. You need to know what words can I use for addition? What words can I use to show that something has been added? Maybe something was constructed. So the word constructed can be used. Built or erected is to show that there has been an addition to map A. When you have 2 maps, okay, there have been an addition on the north, maybe close to the mosque, there has been a building of a library. So you are now talking about a library has been built in map B, okay. Meanwhile, in the other map, it was not so, isn't it? So it depends on what you want to describe, what the question is really. But when you have a question that is asking you or talking that you are describing maybe a development that has taken place over a period of time, okay, and you are describing a particular place and something has been added, then that thing has been constructed, then something has been built, then something has been erected. When there was a removal or when there is a removal, then you can use like cut down, replaced, or taken out. Maybe when something has been modified or changed, you can use the word changed, converted, turned into, transformed, can be replaced or renovated. When something has been, so you need to know these specific words because it shows that you can describe with precision. You don't have to start writing long English. That way, your work, you may have just about 160 or 170 words at the end of the day, but it is very explanatory, it is rich, and it is very clear. All right? So how do you write on a map? The structure of writing about a map. You rephrase the question prompt like I said, and then write an overall statement. If it is double, all right, talk about the major differences between the two maps. That will form your overall statement. And then if it is single, maybe you point out the key points in the map that you have before you. Now, you need to get a compass. If you see that, you look on the question for a compass, so that if you have a compass, you use the first description, like I said, north, south, east, and west. If there's no compass, then you can divide it into 2 or into 4 yourself and talk about up, down, below, beside, you know, the middle part, or you're talking about the bottom, all right? And then you must group your data. You need to learn how to group your data. Then identify a logical start point, a midpoint, and an end point, and start your write-up. For the body of the map or body of your write-up, which is your overview, you have 2 paragraphs. So if there are 2 maps, for instance, you can choose to describe one map first, just like I said in your pie chart. You can choose to describe one map in 1 paragraph, and then describe a second map in the other paragraph. But there's a danger in this if that's what you're doing. You may not be able to compare. So I will personally prefer, it's not wrong if you do that, okay? But I would personally prefer that I divide this using my cardinal points, okay? And then pick the items on them, the variables that are there. Talk about the north in map A and then the north in map B, for example, and I see that in map B, there is now a supermarket constructed next to maybe the pharmacy that was there before in map A. So that by your writing, you are already making this comparison as you go along. And then you are talking about the development that has taken place, the renovations. Sometimes you see a map, a particular building has been converted into something else. Okay, so as you pick and you talk about it, that maybe the building on the north, the building in map A was used as a school before, and now in 2020, it is now being used as a church, or it is now a mosque, or it is now a supermarket, or it is now anything, whatever, that there's a difference. In that, by so doing, you're already comparing your work. You don't need to go and start looking for another form of comparisons to do again. So usually you rephrase. If it's a floor map, also you rephrase it. Then you use the compass. If you find the compass, you identify your dividing features, if there's anyone there, and then you continue your write-up. Note that if there's any unlabeled part, there are sometimes you see a map or a floor map and there's no label, there's no name, there's no tag for certain things that are there. You can decide to give it a name by the location of it, by you stating it, talking about it, maybe the things that are close to it, the examiner, whoever, will already know that this is what you're talking about. Then we have tables. We have tables. Now, when you have a table, you need to analyze the question, identify the main features in that table, then you write an introduction, write an overview that are there in that table. All right. Now, you must make sure in your table, it's very important, use the unit of measurement that is being used. If they are saying percentage, or if they are saying it's metric tons, or if they are saying that it is in naira, or in pounds, or in whatever, you must use the unit of measurement. If it's in meters, then the time period, take note of it. The title and the label, if there are very obvious trends, you need to know. If there are similarities in this table, you need to know. Okay, so in your overview statement for your table, is the information is going to be depending on the kind of table that you have. So in that kind of case as well, I encourage you, divide, get a midpoint. From this point to this point, I'm going to be discussing this. From this point to this point, I'm going to be discussing this as my second paragraph or as my first paragraph. At the end of the day, you find out that you have made your work easier for yourself. This is the end of writing task 1, revision. I'm only doing revision. Okay? Writing task 1, we have done the main work before. It's just to bring to your memory so that if there's any question that you have, you can ask and we clarify it and then move on. I'm rounding up already with writing tasks generally. So this class is just a reminder of what we have been doing before in the writing tasks or what we've done. And then we can move on to something else by next week, God willing. Any question in writing task 1? Is there an area you want me to shed more light on in writing task 1 before we move over to the next things? No? You know my regular phrase, when there is no question, 2 things are involved. It's either the teacher does not know what to say and has confused the students that they don't even know what to ask, or the students understand so well that they don't have questions. Which one?
I have a question.
Good, go ahead.
In a case where you have like 3 pie charts, is it advisable to do them individually in 3 paragraphs?
When you have 3 pie charts,
Yes, ma'am.
did you listen to what I was explaining before? When you have
The network was disturbing. Some of the things you said, I didn't get them.
Okay, that's fine. I will explain. I'm happy to explain again. When you have several pie charts, let me not just say 3 or 2, so that you will know this one, what applies to one applies to all, okay? When you have several pie charts, usually they are the same variables in the pie charts, but the values differs, okay? The variables are the same, the values differ. Well, I have not come across 3 pie charts, but if you have 3 pie charts, it means you have pie chart A, B, and C. What applies to 2 pie charts applies to 3 pie charts as well. You will select what variables, get a start point, get a midpoint, and get an end point. All right? Sorry. What applies to one applies to all. So you get a start point, a midpoint, and an end point. From your start point to your midpoint is 1 paragraph. Then from your midpoint to the end point is the 2nd paragraph. Now, if there are 3 pie charts and there are 10 variables in each pie chart, then you select 5 variables. If that's the way you decide to talk about the highest, all the variables that cut across these 3 pie charts, the ones that have the highest in A, in B, and in C, take note of them. Lowest in A, B, and C, take note of them. And maybe 2nd highest in A, B, and C. 3 points, right? That would be 3 items. Sometimes the 3 items are not just 3 because they are not the same. So at the end of the day, you will find out that you have taken like almost half of the variables already. Then you discuss it. Then in your 2nd part, which is now going to be your 2nd, you will now talk about the remaining. Now, then the ones that the variables differ. They are not the same value all around. They differ. Some are the same. There's a danger if you do this. When you do this, sometimes there are some variables that will not fall into any of these categories. Do you understand? Some variables will not fall into any of the categories. So at the end of the day, you will notice that there are things you may not report on if you use this instance, if you use this method, what do? That's why you need to group your data before you start writing. So that while you're grouping your data, you find out this one is not going to work. Okay, the other side will work. So it is easier to select, divide it into two, select what you want to talk about their scores or their values in all of them, in the three. Then go down, the other part, talk about their values in all of them. It's easier, it's more encompassing in your as in for your report, okay, and it makes it quicker for you to write on. But if you know you have time and you can write fast and you can quickly do your data grouping, the grouping of your data, then go ahead and use any other method, but ensure that you do not leave any variable unaccounted for in that pie chart or in that diagram. Did I succeed in confusing you the more? Or you understand now? Do you understand? Good. Any other question? I thought Ashley was going to ask a question. Any other question, please? No? It means we are good and we can go. Well, I would have said it will be too much information, but because it's just a roundup of what we have done before, we just go through it and close the class and know that we are finished with writing task completely. We have discussed that writing task 1 and the kind of questions that you will find. Generally, the IELTS task is made up of writing, speaking, reading, and listening. Writing task is divided into two. We have writing task 1 and writing task 2. I've talked about writing task 1. Now, writing task 2 also have similar things with the writing task 1. For instance, all the band descriptors are the same, but they require different things in them. All right? For your writing task 2, you are expected to write not less than 250 words. Okay? Writing task 2 is designed to test your ability to write in an academic style. And here you must present the information in your own words as in complete sentences within the paragraphs. While task 1 has given you a diagram for you to describe to them, to explain to them, to analyze, to highlight the important things there, task 1 is expecting you to brainstorm and report on what you have brainstormed. You are required to write over 250 words. It should not be less. And I tell people, maximum 280, 300 is too many words. The task should be completed in 40 minutes and your writing should be very legible using all your devices that are available to you. You must ensure that every aspect of it is complete, and please, as much as possible, minimize errors. Band descriptors apply. These band descriptors are the things that they use to score you. This is where your examiners score you, okay? This is what they use to give you your band score. Like I say, I scored the band 7, band 10, or band 9. The highest is actually 9. Now, the first one is task achievement. Task achievement is a criteria that assesses how well you have focused on the topic and then answered the question. Now, for them to assess you well, you must have written over 250 words. You should satisfy all the requirements of the task, cover all the aspects of the topic, and you must cover every part of the question. Now, you must develop your main points and give relevant examples where necessary. Satisfy all aspects of the question. What do they mean? If a question is asking you to discuss both views and give your opinion, if you discuss both views without giving your opinion, you have not completed the task. If you give your opinion, discuss one side of the view and give your opinion, you have not completed the task. If the question is asking you that what is your opinion, and you just go about to discuss the opinion of the people there or the question, you just discussed it, you have not completed the task as well. So you need to understand what the question is asking you, okay? And then you must explain everything about that question that according to the way it is asked. That's what your task achievement is looking at. Then coherence and cohesion here is similar to what you have at the other side, where you must write your information in a sequential order, and your ideas must be logical and they must make meaning. You are to use a range of cohesive devices appropriately. All of the adverbs and adjectives and all the conjunctions and the joining words and the verbs and all of that. You must use your paragraphing very, very appropriately as well. You need to have a clear progression throughout your work. That is, your work must flow from point A to B to C to D. Now, there's a structure. So here is mainly talking about the structure. You must follow the structure of the writing task too, so that your work can be in an organized manner. Avoiding unnecessary repetition of information. Your coherence and cohesion is looking out for that. For lexical resource, we are discussing your vocabularies here. Okay, so when you use vocabularies that allow you to be precise and flexible at the same time, when you use less common vocabularies, like you use words that are not commonly used, but they are correct in the context that you are using them. Don't go and look for words that do not exist or that are in the dictionary, and like a famous politician that speaks well. If you do all of that, you will not be able to get your desired score. So use words that are not common but are meaningful and are relevant in the context of your discussion. You must be aware of the academic style of writing and avoid errors with your choice of words, okay? You must avoid errors with your spelling as well. All these come under your lexical resource. Now, for grammatical range and accuracy, here is majorly discussing or talking about your grammar, okay? And how to use more advanced sentences to produce error-free write-up generally. It's better to use a mix of simple and complex sentences. You know, your sentences are simple, complex, compound sentence, where we have a sentence, complete sentence must contain what and what? A subject, an object, all right? And it must be complete. So you can use more of a mix of simple and complex sentences together. Your sentences should be error-free, not filled with arrow and gunshots and all of that, all right? So that your examiner can easily understand what you have written. Avoid errors with your punctuations as well. Your spellings come under your lexical resource, while your punctuations come under your grammatical range and accuracy. For the structure of the writing task 2 is different from that of task 1. In task 1, we say 3 sentences. Task 2 is expecting you to have 4 paragraphs, sorry. 3 paragraphs task 1, 4 paragraphs task 2. That's one major difference between both tasks. Okay, so the first paragraph is your introduction, then a body paragraph 1, a body paragraph 2, and your conclusion, which is the final paragraph. Now, irrespective of the kind of task 2 that you have, task 2 question that you have, the structure is the same. The difference is in the content in those structures, all right? The difference is in the content of the structures. Generally, your introduction is made up of the general statement and your specific statement. General statement, specific statement. Okay? The general statement is the question prompt paraphrase using synonyms. while your specific statement is the assignment that you have been given. In the body paragraphs is where you are going to be discussing your points precisely and very clearly. While your final statement is like a recap, okay? Your final statement is the conclusion, okay? It's a summary of all your points put together. For writing task 2, there are different places, different sites that you will find questions coming from. And we have identified them, and we have listed them also and said that it's good for you to have words, synonyms that you can use when you find questions on this kind of aspect, so that you can build your grammar, build your vocabulary around these topic areas, which is education, innovation, crime, media, technology, social issues like divorce, like single parenting, issues like drug abuse, like drug addiction, and then environment. Under environment, we have things like air pollution, water pollution, and all of that. Then technology, where you have like computers, you have the use of machineries and all of that. Okay? Now, there are different types of questions that you will find. And in this class, we group them into 3. The 3 types are 1, opinion essays, then a both side and an opinion, and a 2-question essay. Your opinion essays have different types under them, where questions where we have things like, what is your opinion? Do you agree or disagree? To what extent do you agree or disagree? Questions like, do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? All these are opinion questions. They are all under opinion. So if you, for some people, they broke it down and say they're about 9 or 10. By the time you count this as 4 or 5, you will have, and then with the other ones that we'll be talking about, you will have the 9 or 10 that they are talking about. Now, we also have, okay, this is about the opinion essay now. For your both side and opinion, we have different questions as well under the both side and opinion. Okay, both sides and opinion, we'll be talking about you discussing the 2 sides of that question, okay, and then giving an opinion. Is where it's testing your ability to discuss both sides of an argument, really. Opinion is where you talk about a little bit more, you talk more on the side where you are supporting, and then just 1 point on the other side of the view. But both sides expect you to have equal number of points for each of the views, okay? That's what both sides does, and that's one difference between both side and an opinion essay. For both side and opinion, we have questions like discuss the advantages and disadvantages and give your opinion. Questions like discuss both sides of this argument and give your own opinion. That question comes under both sides and opinion. Then we have a 2-question essay. A 2-question essay, which is known as problem solution, although it's not all about problem and solution. Other people know it as problem solution or cause and effect kind of question, is asking you to discuss this side and this side. There's nothing about opinion. Whatever they want you to do, they will tell you. If they want to talk about the cause of the problem and the effect of the problem, they will ask you. Then you talk about cause and talk about effect. If they want you to talk about the problem and proffer solution, then you will talk about problem and solution. So with that, you can see that we already have the 9 types of questions that some people or that some books you come across will say. So it's not different for you to, when you hear those, they are still the same thing, but I have just grouped them for easier understanding, okay? When you have an opinion essay, what do? We said the structure is the same for all of them. So for an opinion essay, You still have an introduction. And in your introduction is your problem statement and the specific statement. The problem statement is what they have asked you. You get synonyms and you paraphrase it. Your specific statement is coming from what you have been asked to do. So here it will be, you will be discussing your opinion. This essay will be discussing my opinion. That would be your specific statement for your opinion questions. In the body paragraphs of an opinion essay, what do you do? Body paragraph 1 is talking about your opinion, your points, your strong points, very strong points, and ensure that you have 2 points per paragraph and a relevant example where very, very necessary. Okay. Now, your first part, which is your first body paragraph, is talking about your opinions. And then the second body paragraph, you need to talk about one of your opinion and a concession. So a concession is a point against your own point, okay? So, for instance, if I'm to discuss that, what do I say? That teachers are better than doctors. And I have a point, I need to have 3 points if I'm saying that teachers are better than doctors. And I need to have 1 point for the doctors as well in support of the doctors. Okay, that would be my concession. That would be my concessional point. And that point is against one of my points, which is fine. That is the way it should be, so that you are not biased. It shows that you also know something about the other part, and that's why you're able to make this conclusion that you are of this opinion. Okay, so in opinion questions, opinion essays, you talk about 2 of your strong points in your first body paragraph, and then 1 of your strong points and a concession in your second body paragraph. Then in your conclusion, you are expected to round up all of your points. Just mention them point blank, point, and tell us why. Rephrase, like restate it again, that because of this and this and this, that is why you are of the opinion that this should be like this, or this is better than that. Okay, that's what opinion essay is talking about. When you have a both side and an opinion. Okay, for example, let me just give us an example so that we know we have concluded on that. If I say teacher, now teachers are better than, in the first place, it is teachers that taught doctors how to be doctors, which means that the teachers themselves can be doctors. And then my second point is the fact that what else? Teachers can, from the early years, okay, they work in rural areas and all of that. But in these days, doctors don't even want to go to villages. They don't want to go to places where there's no technology and all, but we still have teachers who, irrespective of whatever. So the teachers don't even care. They are still doing their job. And then teachers make more impact. If you ask me, I'll tell you that teachers make more impact. Recently, in my own personal life, I sat down and I was thinking about something. And I really from my heart started appreciating my teachers. I sat down to think about the patience and the hard work and all of the effort that they put in to teach from the beginning of our early years up until where me and you are today. I thought about this and arrived at that conclusion when recently somebody asked me a question, and I was not annoyed, but I was getting kind of pissed off when somebody asked me that question, because I felt that the person should have known that answer, having come this far with the class. Okay, having come, it was more of a personal thing that I've gone over this thing with this person over time, and I didn't expect that particular question. To me, I felt it was a silly question. And then I remembered my teachers in class, and I'm like, oh my God. So teachers, they will teach, we are like a combination of all the things in the class, all the things in the class, both the brilliant, the dull, that word. And you will see that the teacher will come in and teach everybody. Even when they ask questions, they come down again, okay, to your level and they explain again without getting angry. So I felt, oh my God, this is like the first time or that this thing is happening, and here I am getting angry with myself. So how do teachers go home and sleep after all the hard work at the end of the day? Yet they get less paid than many of us. So I started thinking and I'm like, oh, I really appreciate all my teachers for all of their efforts. I have teachers who have died. I have many teachers in primary school who I'm still in contact with up till now. So personally, if you ask me, I will say teachers are better than doctors, okay? And I have enough points to back them up. But that I'm not going to say this and just forget the fact that doctors are important in the society. So I know of a very valid point for the doctors, and I must bring that point in to tell my examiner that although I am of the opinion that teachers are better than doctors because these are my points, but that it does not mean that I know nothing about the doctors. I do also know that doctors and so that is my concession. That is my point against myself. You can say this and this and this about the others. So that is the way it is. Do we understand? That's where a concession comes in. You need a concession to state to your examiner that you understand what you are doing and you are clear with that, but you are of the opinion that this is the way it should be, and that's why you are supporting that with this your point. Although you need to have very strong points, okay? You need to have very strong points for the area that you are supporting. And then you need to restate your point again in the heart of your examiner, because according to stories that I've heard, examiners will read your first statement and go to the last one, and then before they go in between, because they want to see if you are able to link up your points. From the beginning of your work, they will already know what your conclusion should look like. So by the time they see that you are in line, they now go in to start taking further details and to start reading in details and all of that. I don't know if it's true, but I think I do it. So I know that it might be true. For a both side and an opinion kind of essay, you need your introduction as well. Your introduction is your problem statement and your specific statement. Your specific statement for a both side and an opinion essay is, this essay will discuss both views and give my opinion. That's all. Do not bring your opinion to your first paragraph, to your introduction. Keep your opinion away from your introduction. Okay? Keep your opinion away from your introduction. Keep your opinion away from your body paragraphs as well, because you are expected to have equal number of points. Now, in paragraph 1, you are to choose, in body paragraph 1, which is paragraph 2, you are to choose one side of the essay, which is the first side really, and talk about it. Then choose the other side of the essay and talk about it in your second body paragraph, which is your third paragraph. Your opinion will now come in your conclusion. For example, there has been a widespread speculation because of the pandemic that with time, the role of the teachers will phase out. Physical teachers in the classroom teachers will have no role in the society. And then online learning, that's computer learning and all of that, will take over. The role of the classroom teacher will be phased out. The teacher will have no role in the society, and online learning, computers will take over education in the future. The pandemic has really brought us to this sad reality that of a truth, online learning is taking over, isn't it? So they now ask you, some people are of the opinion that the teachers will phase out, and while the other people are saying that no, the teachers will still be there. Now they will now say, discuss both views, okay, and give your opinion. Now here, what will happen? The first side of the story is that Teachers will phase out because of online learning. The second side is that whether not with or without online learning, that teachers will not be phased out in any way. There will still be the role of the teachers, classroom teachers. Their role is still very significant in the society. What will you do? Write about this the role of computers in learning, first of all. Then go and write about the role of the classroom teacher in learning in your other paragraph. Then in your conclusion is where you will now tell me which side you belong to and how do you say it. If we say we want to discuss it now in this class, at least let's do something. Let's not just come to class and go away. Let's do something. Just give me 2 points each why computers will take over and 2 points why computer will not take over, why there will still be the role of teachers. 2 points. Just the point, don't explain anything. What will be the point? 1, 2. The other side, 1, 2. Write it. Now. Let's do something. Hurry up. If you are watching us on YouTube, you can participate as well. Good news, some form of good news, because very soon we'll be streaming live on YouTube. We will be doing YouTube live, not just streaming anymore. That way you can, the class will be going on anything that will have to be on Zoom, and I'll be shortly in our next classes going forward. We'll participate better and we'll be able to gain more from this class. Fingers crossed, okay? That's what the plan is. So you can type, you can go ahead and do this classwork. Just give me 2 reasons, okay, or 2 answers or 2 points each for online learning and for classroom teachers. Okay, we've got 5 minutes to do this. Type to everyone, please. Type it to everyone if you're typing in the Zoom class.
them. Now, where's your work? Bless you. Okay. Okay. Good. So I'll just go ahead and discuss based on what I have here, since some of us have decided to be not to participate. It's okay. We have enough points and we've not got much of time anymore. So we will discuss with what we have. Now, what I have here is talking about online learning as a more effective way of teaching. And that's really ambiguous. So what is the how? It's ambiguous, isn't it? You need to be straight to the point, and the point needs to be clear. This is too wide. Effective learning in which area? What do you classify as effective learning? What do you classify as effective learning? Okay, it increases proper communication. Probably in your explanation, you'll be able to say how it improves um, communication between pupils, okay, or between the students. And then the fact that people can learn, a lot of people, the comfort of their zone, really. So their time, they can plan and do it at their convenience from the comfort of their homes, all right? And then what else? That's a point for learning computers. I mean, for using computers to learn, or for distance learning, or for the role of computers in learning. It's convenient and easy, and it saves time. But on the other side, what happens is they're expensive and not everybody can afford it, isn't it? It's expensive. You need money to buy the computers themselves or to buy these devices, and then are readily available, isn't it? So if we're going to be discussing it, we'll be talking about, for instance, if I say availability and affordability, that's one point for the teachers. And then the other point for the teacher is the fact that it promotes effective communication, okay, between individuals, and then interaction between the students as well in the classroom. So I'm going to be talking about interaction between the students in the classroom, and I'll be talking about its affordability and availability. That's for the teachers. Then for the online learning, I'm going to be talking about the fact that it is convenient, all right? It saves time. People can study from the comfort of their homes. Okay, so now, if these are my points, I'm going to be discussing the good sides of all of them. Remember, that's what they've asked me to do. They said discuss both views. Those that are supporting computers in learning and those that are supporting the physical teachers. That's what they've asked me to do. So now I'm supporting that computers in learning will take over because of what? It's convenient for people to learn with the computers or to study with the computers. This is because people have become so redundant with their lifestyles and all. And then secondly, people are engaged in different kind of things that they still want to learn. So at the end of the day, with the computers in learning, with distant learning, with the internet and all of that, it has forced them the opportunity for them to study at their own time. So people can go to work in the morning and come back in the evening and study like you're doing, all right? If this class was to be in the classroom, for instance, now, many of us will not have the opportunity of attending because you have gone to work I myself have gone to work today and I'm here learning and teaching as well. If I'm to be in a classroom, I will not, a physical classroom, I might not be able to do it. All right. So that's one point. Another one is the fact that computers are, okay, we talked about the time, and then what else? It's available. No, it's not readily available to everybody. So it's convenient for me. And then the time as well. So I've discussed 2 points in one really. Yeah, 2 points in one. I can study at my convenience from my home. Now, if I'm talking about the teachers, I say that the teachers are readily available and they are affordable. Not everybody can afford to buy these devices to study with. I know that with the pandemic in many African countries, many children were not able to attend the online learning that some schools did, because I know some of my cousins had to study using the WhatsApp. Teachers were sending in things through WhatsApp and telling them to study from some sites and all of that. It was not everybody that could afford it. Those in my village, for instance, it's not everywhere except in my own village, everywhere yet. Some signals are better, in some areas, like Glo is better in certain places than in some places, MTN and like that. So some people will not be able to study, because even if they have the money to buy the data, eventually this signal is not available, and some don't have money to buy the devices, not to talk of money for the data. So that is why the classroom teacher will continue, okay, because it's easier to pay school fees than to buy these devices. Even in some places in Europe, schools and the government had to step in to give computers, okay, to many students, to many homes, when they discovered that everyone had to do the e-learning, the online learning thing, the homeschooling. When homeschooling became really serious, schools had to give, the government through schools had to give computers to many students that their parents were not able to afford, or that you have 3, 4 children, and then you will need help, of course, because you may have one computer at home, okay? You may have one computer. And some of us got laptops. In my case, one of them got a laptop from the school because theirs had broken down, and we have 2 computers that are working, but 2 of them, if they are working on the computers, I can't do my work. So eventually we have to get one for one of them. And then the cost of running these things, if it has to be like that for some people back home or in African countries or anywhere where they can afford, they would prefer to go to the classrooms, okay? They prefer to pay the school fees and all. So now you see the way the discussion went. Now, in my conclusion for this one, I personally will now conclude with the fact that although the part of online learning cannot be ruled out completely, especially in this time of pandemic, however, because of its high cost, all right, and because of the fact that not everybody have access to these devices, the role of the classroom will continue to be there, as the classroom helps interactions between children, and then it is affordable, it is readily available. So at the end of the day, what I've done is I have said the other points first, conclusively, okay, online learning is on the increase, and whatever I give one of those reasons, the opinion that teacher will not be phased out because of what? They are readily available, they are affordable, and many people will still prefer to learn in the classroom because of what? What other reasons do they have? They have the fact that it promotes interaction between children or between the students, not just children. It's not just children that go to school. So what happens is you bring in the other points first, then your own point is last, so that your point will be the one that will remain in the heart of the examiner or whoever is marking your work. So in conclusion, you bring one of those points and then bring in your own point and say, so it is in your conclusion that you are going to talk about your opinion. You have equal number of points for both sides in your paragraphs, okay? And then you have your opinion in the last paragraph. And tell them that I know about this, I know about. Then when we have problem solution, your introduction is the same. Where we have the writing, our problem statement, which is the general statement, and the specific statement. The specific statement for 2-question essay is that you are going to be discussing the cause and the effect, or you are going to be discussing the problems and proper solutions. That will be your specific statement. And then in your paragraph 1, you are going to talk about all the causes. And in paragraph 2, you are going to talk about all your solutions to these causes. Give the solution to the causes. The causes you have identified is what you should profile solutions to. Don't identify a cause and profile a solution to something else. At the end of the day, you are writing OP out of point. And there's no cohesion in your work. There's no orderliness. There's no arrangement. There's no progression. Because for you to score a good mark for coherence and cohesion, your examiner must understand what you're saying, and there must be a flow and a progression in your work. So if you have given me one problem, then give me the solution to that problem in your solution. The conclusion of this kind of essay, how does it look like? In conclusion, in concluding a 2-question essay, you will just summarize the 2 points. I mean, the points from A and B, that these are the causes, but these are the solutions. Do we understand? These are the causes, but these are the solutions. That's all you need to know about the writing task. So generally, we have finished the writing task, and I believe that we understand. If you don't understand, ask your question now or forever remain silent. Ask your question. Writing task 2. Writing task 2 is very easy, isn't it? Let's say the truth. It's easy once you know what to do, isn't it? Once you know what to do, it's easy. So all you need to do is grab enough information, go watch the videos, go over the classes, get as many questions as you can on all of the question types. That's the way to practice. Get the questions, get sample questions in all the question types and do them. That's how you will improve. Don't just sit down and say, okay, no, Joy was saying this and that, and okay, I can do this. Until you start writing it, that's when you will know whether you can do it or you cannot do it. So get a book and start your practice if you have not been practicing. All right, if there's no question, we are going to bring this class to an end. Any question?
Excuse me, ma.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not a question per se.
Okay.
I just wanted to see the vetting of our write-ups in the Telegram. If you can help us to vet more so that from there we can get so many corrections too.
I'm not promising. The thing is, the schedule has been so tight. You see this life, bar, when you have the opportunity for anything, grab it. At the peak of the pandemic, I don't know, many people don't know, I had the virus and I had to shield. But I was doing my classes, I never missed the class. And I was begging, submit your work, submit your work. Look at it today, I'm so busy. I come back from work, I come into class straight sometimes. Sometimes I have to take 5-10 minutes and tell you people I'm coming in late. Sometimes I come in 30 minutes late. So when do I have all the time now to start vetting your work? When once upon a time, there was a time I was chasing for you to write, and many people did not write. So I will try. I'm not promising, because the truth is, if I promise, it becomes compulsory. Becomes compulsory that I should do if I promise. So I'll try as much as I can But I'm trying small. At least I'm chipping in. If you put in something and I'm not really saying anything about it, maybe two things. Maybe because I think you have improved, or because I don't know where to start the correction from because it's too poor. Maybe. And I've not really seen that kind of work that is so low in the group. I've not really seen it. People generally have improved over time with their writings, especially. Readings, you can help yourself with your reading practices. You can help yourself a lot. I've told you where to go to do your reading. Do all those, mark them, identify areas where you need help, the kind of questions are not, and we can do them. But for your writing, I will see what I can do. That's just all I can say. I'll see what I can do about it. But keep writing them because many other people are coming up in the group that can help to vet a few. I don't know if you've noticed. At some point, some time back, someone was helping to correct some words. So you may be locked at you from writing. Okay, keep writing. Has come to an end, except if there's any other contribution. Yes, Mary.
Hello, ma.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, ma. In writing task 2, then after the paraphrasing of the introduction, and you made mention of the thesis statement. Okay, measurements. Maybe the data that we were being given there is measurements. Can you get me, ma? Can you get what I'm saying? Okay, ma. So
Yes.
in a situation whereby they did not give us measurements, can we just go to the body 1 and just paraphrase?
I'm confused with your question. Is it writing task 1 you are talking about or writing task 2? Because there's no measurement in writing task 1. I didn't mention any measurement in writing task 2. What I talked about measurement was in writing task 1, and I said that when you're writing, you should take note of the units of measurement that they use, like if they use meters or metric tones or whatever. Take note, all these percentages and numbers and naira, pounds, whatever they use, you should make use of them as well. In writing task 2, there are no numbers. In writing task 2, there are no percentages. In writing task 2, in writing task 2, you do more of brainstorming, okay, and you write in an academic style. But in task 1, you are reporting on a data that you have been given. So which one are you asking? And what exactly are you asking? Unmute.
Okay. Ma, is writing task 1
Okay.
in a situation whereby we were not given any measurements, maybe in percentage or any other thing? Can we just paraphrase and go to the body, the overview?
How do you mean? Okay, let me explain writing task 1. Writing task 1, you have a question, a diagram, and a statement before you. The diagram will tell you what to do. Okay? I planned not to do any example today in this class, but you are making me to go against that my plan, because apparently you are confused, and this class ending without clearing your doubt will not be good. So let me see if I can share my screen and then show you something. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Yeah?
Yes,
Can
we
we all
can.
see
Yes.
the screen? Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you look very well, the question is, there's no writing on the okay. Here you are now. That's fine. So, which is the higher and so let's say that okay. I'm happy to be back in. I don't know what is happening. It's raining here, I think. That's why. So I was sharing my screen. What I mean by the unit of measurement. If it is in degree Fahrenheit, don't go and say degree centigrade. That's what unit of measurement means. It is measured in Fahrenheit. Don't use centigrade. If it is in meters, don't say centimeters. Okay? If it is in kilometers, don't go and say it's in meters. Or it's in kg and you are writing in pounds. Do you get the point? Okay? All right. And then for you to write an introduction in this kind of a task, what I said is you will write a general statement, which is your question paraphrased. And then you have an overall statement, which is what you can see at a single glance at this work before you. Both of them together will make up the introduction of your work. For instance, we are talking about the high and the low temperatures in Seattle City. And we can see from here that all through these days, there are fluctuations for both of them. They've got high points, low points, medium points, and all of the points. So overall, it can be seen that the temperature rises fluctuated all through. That's what I can conclude. There were fluctuations. And because I've mentioned that there are fluctuations, my examiner is going to be looking out for those points where I'm going to be explaining the fluctuations or the specific numbers to show that it was actually not the same, or there was not like a particular trend all through. In my explanation, in the overview, I will decide to select these variables and talk about them one after the other. So if in overview 1, I select the low temperature, which is the first one, the one in blue, and I decided to talk about it, that the low temperature started at about below 35 degrees Fahrenheit on the 3rd, then rose gradually up until on the 3rd, where that's where it attained its peak, isn't it? Where it peaked at about 45 degrees, maintained that same trend, then sharply plummeted. This is a sharp plummet. This is a drop. It's a slip back because it had risen and then it's falling back. So it plummeted and then gradually went down again to its nadir. That's the lowest point on the 7th day. And rose significantly till what? If I want to mention the number of days, I'll talk about the 9th, it was on this point, the 10th, it was on that point, then it fell again, all right, and was slow. There was no significant rise here. It was a very sluggish rise until it attained about what now? That's not the lowest point. So it was on, what was the point? It's less than 35. So I can say it's a bit up below 35 or it's on 35 on the 12th or on the 14th day. And that's the last one. You can see that with the use of these adjectives, the downward and the upward trend adjectives that I told you, all right, I have used them to describe this from the beginning on to the end, all in one paragraph, talking about the low temperature. And that is my first overview statement. That's my first overview paragraph. Then I move over to the second one, which is the high temperature, and do the same thing, mentioning the low point, the high point, the fluctuations, the sudden rises, the sudden falling, the dramatic rises, and if there are sluggish, whatever the trend is, I discuss it as my second overview. And that's the end of this report. You are not going to write anything again. This is simple, is it? Yeah? Once you understand what to do, it becomes simple. So now my introduction is this one, the statement paraphrased with my overall statement. And then my overview, the first overview will be one of the variables discussed from the beginning to the end. Then my second overview will be the other variable discussed from the beginning to the end, and that's the end. I finished writing. This should not take you up to 15 minutes if you practice really well. That's why you must practice. All right? Mary, are you clear now? Can I go and sleep well that I taught somebody this night? Can I sleep and not see you in my dream? And that you're asking questions. Okay. So yes, that's it. Any other questions? So we can bring this class to an end. I need to go and sleep. I'm still working tomorrow. No question. It means the class is well understood. Uchenna, what do you want to ask?
I want to say thank you, ma.
Oh, okay. You're welcome. That's all right. So I'll see you next week. Whatever platform we're going to use, we will announce it. If there are any changes, we'll let you know. If there are no changes, we'll let you know. We're finished with writing tasks 1 and 2. So go grab a question, take a picture of it, write about it. If you are in this class this evening, post it to the Telegram group and I'll correct it. I know the people that attended my class this evening. So 1 question each. You can select, you can decide to do writing task 1 or task 2. That's your bonus, that's your own. Decide on which one you want to do. But 1 question, please write your name, the name I know in the class. All these Miss, Wiz, and the rest of those names that you people have, it is well with us. So please write the name I know in class, your Zoom name, write it as you post it, and let's see. Between now and next week, I'll try and create time and see if I can vet that work. In the absence of any other thing, I just want to say thank you very much for attending the class tonight. I'm here because you are here. If you watched us on Facebook, and share the link with your friends to go and watch. Anybody that you know need this class is an IELTS class for those that are interested in relocation or studies, and they've been asked to provide them a proof of the English test. Okay. It's an academic class. I still do general, but I don't do the general class as per this training, because most of the people that we are training are health workers, and this is what is actually required of them for the countries that we're trying to see how to help them. So if you have been watching on YouTube as well, you can drop your suggestions, your questions. We hope to do better, and we hope to see you next week. From me to you this night, do have a lovely night rest. Bye-bye.